Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Daily for You. I'm Emma, and I'm really happy you're here with us today.
And I'm Thomas. Thanks for spending this time with us.
Over the last few episodes, we've talked about moments that feel difficult, moments when English feels heavy, moments when your mind freezes, and moments when words disappear under pressure.
And if you've been listening along, you might be thinking something like, okay, I understand why this happens, but how do I actually start speaking?
Yes, that question comes up a lot, not in a loud way, but in a quiet, very personal way, especially for adults who already know some English.
People who can read emails, understand meetings, follow movies or podcasts, but still feel stuck when it's time to speak.
Exactly. And today we want to talk about something very specific. Not grammar, not vocabulary lists, but something simpler. How speaking English often becomes easier when you stop thinking so much about speaking.
That sounds a little strange at first, because most learners are told to think more. Think about structure, think about accuracy, think about the right sentence.
Yes, and that advice isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. Because thinking is helpful until it becomes too loud.
When thinking gets loud, it starts interrupting something natural, your ability to respond.
Let's slow this down a bit and imagine a very normal situation. Someone asks you a simple question in English. Maybe, how was your weekend?
You understand the question immediately, no problem there, but instead of answering, your mind starts doing something else.
It starts checking. Is this sentence okay? Is my tense correct? What if I say it wrong?
And while all of that is happening, the moment passes and the conversation moves on.
That's the part many learners feel frustrated about. Not because they don't know English, but because they do, and still can't use it easily.
Yes, that gap between knowing and speaking can feel confusing, and sometimes even discouraging.
But here's something important we want to say early in this episode. Speaking doesn't always begin with confidence. It often begins with comfort.
Comfort with short answers. Comfort with simple sentences. Comfort with not saying everything perfectly.
Exactly. And comfort grows faster when your mind isn't racing ahead. When you're not trying to plan 5 sentences at once.
Many fluent speakers don't plan what they say in advance. They respond to the moment, one sentence at a time.
And that's something learners can do too, but it usually starts with letting go of overthinking.
Not all thinking, just the kind that freezes you.
In this episode, we're not going to tell you to try harder. And we're not going to push you to speak more. We're simply going to stay with the idea of starting small.
Small responses, short answers, natural reactions.
The kind of English that already exists in your mind, even if you don't always trust it yet.
As you listen today, you don't need to practice anything. And you don't need to repeat after us.
Just notice how speaking feels when it's not rushed, not judged, and allowed to be simple.
Because simplicity is often where speaking begins.
Yes, and that's where we'll start. When people hear the idea, stop thinking, they often feel a little confused. Because thinking sounds important. And in many situations, it is.
Yes, especially when you're learning something new. Thinking helps you understand. Thinking helps you remember.
Exactly. So today, we're not talking about turning your brain off. We're talking about what happens when thinking becomes too loud.
That's an important difference. Because overthinking doesn't feel like learning. It feels like pressure.
And pressure changes how you speak. When you feel pressure, your body tightens. Your breathing changes. Your attention moves away from the moment.
Instead of listening, you start monitoring yourself. Your words, your accent, your grammar.
And when that happens, speaking stops feeling natural. It starts feeling like a test, even in very small conversations.
That's something many adult learners experience. Especially learners who are responsible. People who don't want to make mistakes.
Yes, people who care. People who want to do things well. But caring too much in the moment can interrupt speaking. Because your mind is trying to protect you. It's checking everything before you say it.
And that checking takes time. Sometimes just a second. But in conversation, even 1 second can feel long.
Let's talk about a very simple example. Someone asks you, "Did you have a good weekend?"
You understand the question immediately. There's no confusion there.
But before answering, your mind might start asking questions. Should I use past simple or present perfect? Should I explain more? Is my answer too short?
And while those questions are happening, the conversation waits. The other person waits.
That's when speaking feels hard. Not because you don't know English, but because you're trying to manage too much at once.
Speaking is already doing a lot of work. You're listening, you're understanding, you're responding.
Adding too much thinking on top can overload that process. And overload doesn't mean failure. It just means something needs to slow down.
That's why many people notice something interesting. They speak better when they're relaxed or when they're distracted.
Like when they're joking with a friend. Or talking casually online, or even speaking to themselves.
In those moments, they're not planning. They're just responding. And suddenly, English comes out more easily.
That doesn't mean their English magically improved. It means the pressure disappeared. And when pressure disappears, your existing English has more space to come out.
That's an important idea for today. You already have more English than you think. The challenge is letting it show.
Letting it show doesn't require pushing. It requires trust and comfort.
Comfort with saying something simple. Comfort with not saying everything perfectly. Comfort with being understood, not impressive.
Many learners wait to speak until they feel confident. But confidence often comes after speaking, not before.
That's why starting small matters. Short answers, simple reactions, natural responses.
When you stop trying to control every word, speaking becomes less about performance and more about presence.
Presence means being with the person in front of you, not with the rules in your head.
Exactly. And this shift doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, conversation by conversation.
That's what makes it realistic. And that's why this approach lasts.
Not to analyze, not to fix anything, just to notice.
Notice how this idea feels. The idea that speaking doesn't always get easier by thinking more. Sometimes it gets easier by thinking less.
That can feel surprising, especially if you've spent years studying carefully, memorizing rules, trying to say things the right way.
And none of that effort is wasted. It helped you build understanding. It helped you recognize English when you hear it.
But speaking lives in a slightly different space. It lives in timing, in connection, in responding to what's right in front of you.
And that's why speaking often improves quietly. Not in big jumps, not in dramatic moments, but in small, almost invisible ways.
Like answering a question without planning, or saying a short sentence and not replaying it later, or realizing you spoke and it felt okay.
Those moments matter, even if they feel small, especially if they feel small.
Because small moments build comfort. And comfort builds consistency. And consistency quietly becomes confidence.
Not confidence that says, I'm perfect, but confidence that says, I can respond. I can stay in the conversation.
That kind of confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to prove anything.
It just shows up, one sentence at a time. Meets.
So if you're listening to this today, and you still feel nervous about speaking English, that's okay.
If your mind still goes blank sometimes, that's okay too.
This episode isn't asking you to change who you are. It's just offering a different way to see what's happening.
A way that's kinder and more realistic.
Over the next few days, you might notice moments when English feels a little lighter, a little less heavy, a little less controlled.
When that happens, you don't need to celebrate. You don't need to analyze.
Just notice it and let it pass naturally.
Because speaking doesn't improve by force. It improves by permission.
Permission to be simple. Permission to respond without planning. Permission to sound human.
And that permission can start right now. Right where you are, without doing anything extra.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. Thank you for listening in your own way.
If this episode felt helpful, you're always welcome to come back. We're here to explore these moments slowly together.
In the next episode, we'll stay with everyday English and look at how speaking can feel calmer in real-life situations.
Until then, take care and keep it simple.